I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values, our feelings, or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
I neglected to take the banner off. Welcome, everyone. I am Professor Geek, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to an impromptu live stream that is here to make up for not having a live stream Friday. It's been a weird few days, but I felt that you deserved the intro video there since we didn't have it Friday. Also, thanks again. He's not here right now, but he pops in a little bit later sometimes because his work schedule has been weird. But Stephen Cruz has just been a long time fan of the channel. Has always been there. I don't remember a time when he wasn't watching, honestly, and he's been great. And he's a really talented musician himself, a rock musician. And that video, he actually took a rant that I just did on one of my office hour streams back in the day, and he cut together some of the pieces that he loved the best or whatever, and then he set it to a dance mix. And he sent me that, and I was like, that is so cool. That's really awesome. So I put the visuals to it to make it, to make it like a little video. And I love it. I think it's really cool. Occasionally I get people commenting in the stream or on the channel, your music's too loud. I can't hear what you're saying. Like, oh my gosh, you guys will whine about anything. No, it's not supposed to be he didn't mix it as a video. He mixed it as like a dance mix, so it's fine for what it is. And then I put the visuals on it and made it the video. But yeah, so this is going to be a pretty short stream. It's not going to be long, one of my long hour streams or anything, maybe a half hour or something like that. And check the time. Got a hot date with my sound engraver in a little bit, so can't go too long into that. But I did just want to get this off of my chest about Black Widow. And I also like doing these streams because I can mine it for content for little 5 to 10 minute videos throughout the week. And thanks for tuning in on a weird night. Sunday night, it's not my usual night, but thanks for being here for that, because it is a little different. I had my daughter change to her schedule with my custody and everything like that. Things were changing up a little bit because of the summer and some moves and whatnot. And she just doesn't do well with change, her being on the autistic spectrum and whatnot. So I was anticipating it to be really ugly, actually, some of the changes that she was going to have to deal with here, but actually went pretty okay. But she needed me there with her. She needed me present, so I couldn't just, even at night, she's kind of a light sleeper. So it was good for me to be around and available in case she woke up or something. But things should be back to normal next week. For the Thursday, definitely going to try the Thursday night book study to finish out the Darth Bane book study. That'll happen Thursday night. And then we'll try Friday night. I think it'll be okay. I do. So it should be back to normal next week. Fingers crossed. But let me check in with who's joining us at this point, and then we'll jump into the content. But my dear sound engraver, right there from the beginning. Hello, handsome. Hello, my gorgeous. Daniel, welcome. Let's see. Bunny with a keyboard. New, I think. I don't think I've seen you unless you're one of our usuals under a different name, which happens sometimes. But welcome. Melissa Harrison Sons. Leyenda. I always that your name always gives me pause. Leyenda 61. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But I've seen you comment quite a bit here and there, so welcome. And what else do we've got here? A lot of chats back and forth. Rage DeBrickshaw. Chat, what's going on? Shut Down in Flames. Shut Down in Flames. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Chris P. Welcome, welcome. Henry Jenkins. Emilio Mbanco. Probably returning that too. But welcome nonetheless. So, yeah, wow. Watching numbers are growing quite a bit there. Good to see. I didn't know what it was going to be like on a Sunday night. I don't remember streaming on a Sunday night. Maybe Impromptu is ways back, or like rewatches way back when, but I didn't know how the numbers would be. Or I didn't know how it would be with just this being an impromptu and not something that's scheduled that people know to look forward to, like the Friday night streams. So, Sir Stone says, the first time watching live. Well, you are welcome, sir. Hopefully you will come back and watch live again at some point. Usually not on Sunday nights, but anyway, we're back now. So, Black Widow, I was almost going to title this stream MCU's greatest failure, but they've made some really big failures lately, so it's hard to say anything's their greatest failure. But Captain America is probably their greatest failure lately. I don't know. You can make a lot of arguments. They put a lot of fuel in for that argument. But Black Widow has been one of their most long-standing failures, I think. And it started out not because she was over-sexualized or anything like that Scarlett Johansson's trying to say, or that the MCU clearly thinks now, the way they're trying to handle her with the new garbage Black Widow movie that was out or anything like that. They started out with a really cool character. They never gave her solo film to begin with. That was a problem. Everybody, every real Marvel fan, every fan of the MCU who recognized that they were taking the classic stories over, from a few decades ago, the most seminal story arcs of these characters that kind of rose to the top when you thought about them in the popular consciousness, they took those stories and adapted them to film. And you're always going to get, here and there, like really hardcore purist Marvel comic fans say, they didn't do this in the movie. Well, they're not going to do everything. But you look at the history of comic book movie adaptations, and the MCU for the longest time was just killing it. I mean, they were just amazing. It really, truly adapting the essence, the true iconic essence of these characters and their storylines, the most iconic elements to this big screen. So when they introduced Black Widow, it made perfect sense for her to be part of Tony Stark's movie at first. Because of her character, Divine Comedy Productions, thank you very much for the $4.99 super chats. And my friends were talking about the MCU yesterday, and we all agreed it's gone down the crapper. I'm not shocked at what they did with Natasha. Oh, it went down. I mean, we knew that at the Endgame. By the time Endgame, the rolling credits ended, I thought I saw some cool stuff in there, but I saw some absolutely deal breaker in every way stuff in there that's never going to make me come back. So I never did. Didn't care about watching Far From Home. Didn't care about watching the WandaVision. Didn't care about watching Loki. Didn't care about watching Black Widow. Read the synopses of all of these films to make sure to affirm that I was correct, and boy was I. And you don't watch them. You don't give them. People are already coming to my channel and saying, what'd you think of the Black Widow movie? Like, guys, do you watch my channel at all? But see, these aren't people that actually watch my channel. These people that get a dopamine hit from watching their different favorite YouTube talking heads trash talk the movies that they want to be trash talked. These people don't actually want Marvel to stop making movies like this and to make better movies. They want Marvel to keep making trash movies so that they can get that dopamine hit and they can go watch it. They can give Marvel their money and say, oh, this is so horrible. And then they go on live streams and video comments and never say, it was so stupid. This, and this happened. And I'm just back here going, guys, why did you watch it? You knew they were going to do this. Why the freak did you give them your money? I don't care what you think. They don't care what you think anymore. You paid for it. You gave them their money. They don't care. You told them, you as good as told them, make more of that. I'm in. I'll be there to talk about that. Yeah, good stuff. And then you got people, I didn't watch it. I pirated it. Well, you still came and talked about it and drummed up the whole promotion and everything. You're part of it. You're part of it. So the best thing we do is to step away. We can call it out. And I think that calling it out is necessary. I don't think that we need to just pretend that it doesn't exist. Because some people might say, well, what about you, Prof? You're making a video like this. Yeah, but I'm not promoting the movie. I'm talking about her arc in general, the problems with their approach now, and so forth. They're not self-aware enough just to turn your back on and ignore them. There used to be a time for that. They keep devolving and immaturing to the point where this just like you kind of have to scrape the bottom of the barrel to find the lowest denominator logic line that's going to work with them. It should be, as we all agree, it should be a business thing that if they put out a product and you don't buy it, they realize, people don't like that. Maybe we should change our product. But they're long beyond that, as I've said many times. They're long beyond that. They care about pushing an agenda. They don't care about, product there. They do care about people in the seats to preach to. They need you there so you can preach to them, or so they can preach to you, rather. And they don't understand, why are men coming to see the amazing, fantabulous Harley Quinn? Why aren't men coming to see these movies that talk about how men suck? That's so horrible that men aren't coming to see that. They don't get it. They don't get it at all. So ignoring them is a good first step. But if you just ignore them, they don't even have the logical capacity anymore. They're so far beyond that to realize what they should do. They try to just kind of seep into anything you're looking at that point. So it's good to ignore their content, but to continue to speak out against it. So, it's a really long response to your super chat, but thank you for that super chat. Appreciate it. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah. Okay. The feminist and everybody who's working at current day MCU who have just totally given themselves over to this woke agenda. And it's still a mystery to me how this happened, because they had it right for so long. I really don't know what the true thing is that happened there. Kevin Feige is the biggest enigma to me. I mean, he was our flag carrier. He was our banner carrier for how to do these movies right for so long. And his switch just flipped completely when he hired Brie Larson and then pushed the way that Captain Marvel was going to be made. And then with the Endgame nonsense, I don't know if, they say that Ike Perlmutter was a big problem for so long. He was a big problem for so long, and Kevin Feige wanted to get out from under his thumb. Some people are saying now maybe Perlmutter was kind of keeping him reined in. I don't know. Or if it's just Feige buckling under the pressure now to other people pushing and making sure that he does these woke agenda movies. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but it's a real mystery. Larry Bernard, thank you for the $5, says, hurry up and get to the part about how they wasted the character of Red Guardian and how the dysfunctional family theme didn't mean anything. I'm not going to talk so much about the storyline of the film. I read it, and you're right, it's ridiculous. Of course they sacrificed Red Guardian, the big dupe. He had to be the big dopey man. It's a woman's movie, so any man in it has to be evil or a big dopey doof. And he was kind of the father figure, which means he had to be extra ridiculous. Of course they made a joke of him. Of course, how was anybody expecting anything less? That whole movie, they tried to pretend basically what the whole Black Widow movie is them trying to escape the criticism of never having given Black Widow her own standalone film. So now they'll just say, yeah, we did. See, we gave it to her there. And what they did with her story, instead of giving us the movie that we desperately wanted all along, they gave us far too late. I mean, they killed her off, which was stupid anyway. But they gave us a movie which is just basically trying to get Natasha Romanoff out of the way because they're not comfortable with her character. They can try and make her kind of wooden and sort of, feminist standard in this movie, which they did. But no, she just needs to be gotten out of the way so that they can bring this other woman in. Now, I forget her name. I know she's in the comics, but it's not a good move because they want her to be their new Black Widow going forward so that she can be everything they wish Natasha Romanoff was from the beginning. Non-sexualized and strong and independent, blah, blah, blah. They don't realize what a great character Natasha Romanoff was from the beginning. The first problem they have with her before you even get to her on screen is that she was introduced in a man's movie. They didn't just give her film to begin with. She was introduced as part of Iron Man's sequel. That's actually really fitting for Natasha Romanoff, for her character. She is a spy. Now, she's not a superhero traditionally. I know in the comics, and I like this arc about her in the comics, that she does have part of the super soldier serum. Like they were trying to experiment with that in her and stuff like that. So that's a thing in the comics, and I wished it was more prevalent in the movies. But she's not a traditional superhero, right? She's a expertly trained, we know with the Red Room and all of this kind of stuff that she had to go through tragically, but highly to the peak of human perfection trained super spy, fighter, assassin, all of these things. And she's got this wonderful redemptive arc. But because she's one of her great powers is espionage, spy. You're not supposed to. It's good that we meet her, casual fans rather. It's good that casual fans would meet her in Iron Man 2 and not realize, oh, that's a major character one day. That's actually one of the superheroes one day. It's good that they do that because that's fitting to her character. She slides in under sort of an alias, and then we come to know, oh, that's she's this important agent for SHIELD and whatnot. That's important. That's good for her character arc. And it's fine. I love the part of her character arc that we received in the Avengers as well. To add on to that, we got to hear a little bit about her tragic past, and I loved what Whedon said. She got red in her ledger. She's trying to wipe it out. That's perfect. The color red for her is important symbolically, and he played with it visually as well. You notice what he did in that movie. He had each of the Avengers color coded. Now these were costumes that they'd been wearing in the comics for a long time, but he consciously picked which costumes they'd be wearing and whatnot. And each Avenger was color coded in that first Marvel Avengers movie. And she was black. Black was the color of spies, of espionage, that kind of thing. And her, Fury, and Hawkeye were the only three to have that black in the costume there. And she also wore red, right? A little bit of red in her hair and then her buckle because she had blood in her past. She had red in her ledger. She wanted to wipe it out, as she said over and over again. And then eventually the color that they add, and they don't add it until the Avengers team up at the end, blue, her widow sting. Suddenly we see the blue highlights in her costume. And who wears blue? The only other character, the only other superhero that wears blue in the movie is Captain America. True blue heroism, which is the opposite of her past, but it's what she aspires to do and to be. It's why she always goes along with Cap, even later when conflicts occur. So she's a wonderful character, and it's a tragedy that we never got a good, solid movie. I think the right move would have been after the Avengers to give us a prequel Budapest film with her and Hawkeye. That would have been amazing because they keep referencing Budapest and some of their past together. That would have been amazing. Go ahead and give us a Hawkeye Black Widow film after the Avengers. Wonderful. Then coming out of that, we can get solo Black Widow, solo Hawkeye, series, movies, whatever it is, whatever it happens to be. That would have been a wonderful move. So they just dropped the ball from her to begin with, and apparently that was they say Ike Perlmutter's if I'm remembering, that was the one that they accused of that, saying that women superhero movies don't sell or whatever, apparently that was his fault. I don't know, but that's garbage. We should have had that right away. Now, the other major problem they have with her is that what Scarlett Johansson has come out recently saying. Oh, she was so sexualized. She was so sexualized. We're seeing a lot of this. Not only do woke ideologues eat their own, they also eat themselves. They eat their own past. Anything good that they did in the past that doesn't line up with the modern day ideologue parameters, which are constantly restricting, constricting and constricting and constricting. They'll start to push out and say these weren't, oh, that was bad what I did. Oh, that was bad what I did. That was bad what I did. Scarlett Johansson was 100% part of any sexualization that went into the character. She wasn't forced to do that or whatever. Scarlett Johansson is an actress who oozes sexuality. I mean, she just got sensuality, if you want to call it like that. See, that's the thing. The sexuality term, you have to be very specific about what you mean. Some people, when they say sexualization, they really mean objectification. And I agree, that's wrong. Even that, though, you can argue that in stories, some characters have to be sort of objectified because not every character can be in the forefront. I'll give you an example. In Captain America, the First Avenger, when he's doing his shows to sell war bonds, you've got the Captain America dancers all around him. Okay, as far as that story or movie goes, we just need to see them be the pretty faces, kicking the pretty legs. That's all you need those characters to be. And that's not an objectification like you're saying they're pretty women, so they have no souls. No, that's just saying in the story, we don't need their backstory. All they need to be is pretty faces who the soldiers want to see more of on stage rather than Captain America. That's it. Some people would say even that's objectification. So you have to really define your terms. So an objectification that tries to encourage audiences of a story or readers of a story to not think about others as human beings, but just objects for their use, I'm totally against that. I'm not against showing a character's sexuality, because depending on the character, and Black Widow is a perfect example, her sexuality is 100% part of her identity as a hero. More so than it would be just anybody's. I mean, sexuality is part of our identities. But what I mean is, I did a video when I was talking about the heroine archetype, and I talked about Wonder Woman first, but then I talked about Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow, as the two perfect examples of the heroine archetype, and two examples of how the work of the heroine archetype to bridge boundaries can be done so differently. You know, Black Widow does it nothing like Wonder Woman does it, and vice versa. So for Black Widow's case, she bridges the boundary between masculine and feminine because that's her shtick, right? And in the comics, this was the case, and in the movies, this was the case. What they started with, she wants to appear. One of her weapons is her sexuality. We saw that in Iron Man 2, the way she tried to kind of disarms Tony Stark. Oh, I'm just a young, pretty face. I don't know what I'm doing here. You know, here you can try to weave me into your web, and all the while she can get close to him and watch him and you know, fulfill her assignment. We see it in the Avengers when we first are met. You know, we meet her on the top floor there, and she's being interrogated. She's in charge of that scene the whole time. She says, "I'm in the middle of a questioning right now. He's giving me everything," you know, and she's the one, you know, quote unquote, being tortured there. She's tied to a chair and everything, and she says, "All right, give me a second," and then she handily escapes, you know, puts them all, you know, tied up, and then walks out on her own. I mean, that was amazing. That's the kind of character she is. And when you've got that kind of thing built into her character, the SJWs hate that. The woke ideologues can't stand that, because she's inviting what they call the male gaze, but she's using it to her own advantage, and not in a way like a villainess would. She's doing it for heroism. She's a great character. She's a wonderfully unique and deep character. And I loved how she played Loki in that Avengers film, because it was so cool. She knew how to appear vulnerable by letting true vulnerability show. She went ahead and said, "I've got red in my ledger," because that's actually something she really is concerned about. And she would have known that Hawkeye, being under Loki's spell with the Mind Stone, would have told him about all of this. These are things she deeply does feel insecure about and bad for, and that she's trying to make up for, you know, working with S.H.I.E.L.D. first and then the Avengers. That's real strength. That's real strength, to let your vulnerabilities show and to use them as a strength, as a weapon for good you're trying to achieve. She's just a fascinating character. She's an incredibly deep character. And if you look at the scenes, you know, I think one of the big scenes that Scarlett Johansson is trying to pretend was so problematic was her scene with Happy Hogan in Iron Man 2. That was a beautiful scene. She is a iconically feminine character. If we didn't see her walk down the hall as she takes out each of those spies with a very feminine sway and a very tight-fitting leather costume, then it would not have been Black Widow. I mean, what does Scarlett Johansson want? Does she want her to walk down in a Rose Tico potato sack, just kind of stomping, punching guys in the face? Well, that's not Black Widow. We could have had any other stupid thug character do that. No, we wanted Black Widow to show us the power that she encases in that femininity. That was brilliantly done. And I even like, now I know some people here might disagree with me. No problem. I'm happy to agree to disagree. But I even liked, I'm not going to go too far into this because my dear sound engraver is watching these movies along with me. She hasn't seen any of the Marvel Cinematic Universe until I started, you know, showing it to her. And actually tonight we're up to Guardians of the Galaxy, but she hasn't seen Avengers: Age of Ultron yet. But there is, as hinted at in Avengers even, there is that little bit of, you know, hint of romance between Romanoff and Banner. That's not from the comics, and I understand a lot of people saying that shouldn't be there or whatever. I liked it, actually. I see the trajectory, the story arc they put her on. I think that was pretty decent. Endgame completely just dropped that, pretended it never happened. You got this one sort of awkward scene, then you're like, we're done. You know, don't want to do that anymore. Can't have this woman character be interested in a man. Can't have that. So they decided to kill off Black Widow in Endgame. This was not a random choice. this was not in any way the writers and directors of Endgame, the Russo brothers, and I forget the writers' names. They will try to tell you that the difficult choices they had to make in Endgame, you know, are these things that are controversial, like Cap just going back in the past and staying there now and just completely irresponsibly dropping the ball on all of his responsibilities there, completely screwing up the timeline. Peggy Carter, who ends up marrying somebody else and having children, even he's like, we'll just make sure that they exist in an alternate timeline now because I want you. No, that's not Captain America in any way. And they will pretend, they will try and hem and haw, and their supporters will try to say, which it actually does make sense because blah blah blah. There's not even any evidence. You know, they'll try to push this as much as possible. The truth of the matter is the woke ideologues had taken over at that point. They had taken over the MCU at that point. We saw that with Captain Marvel. They wanted to get certain characters completely out of the way. The old white guys had to be out of here. Kill off Tony Stark. Throw Captain America in the past. Make Thor a big, fat, useless guy that we can just hand the hammer over to Jane in the next movie. They need those hetero white guys have to be out of here. Out of here. Clear the way so that we can have Black Captain America, so that we can have a Scarlet Witch series and whatnot. That's what they wanted. And that's what they did. And for Black Widow, they had such shame. As soon as the woke ideologue came in and had power over the MCU, they had horrible shame over Black Widow because she was a character that had her sexuality on display. She used it. It was part of her heroism. It was part of her work. And they just didn't even know what to do with that. They couldn't even deconstruct her enough. They tried to deconstruct her in Endgame, just had her kind of sad, mopey, and then eventually she just sacrifices herself. They just wanted her out of the way. So they killed her off completely unceremoniously in a way that didn't make any sense to her character. No, that would not have happened. Let me get these super chats before I miss any more. Make sure I miss any before I finish my thought there. A little ways back, ORJ, thank you very much for £2. Appreciate that. So did Jon Favreau pay the Russo brothers, or did Jon Favreau's absence affect MCU? Did Jon Favreau's absence? I think his absence definitely hurt MCU. The Russo brothers made a wonderful films. I mean, when they stepped in with the Winter Soldier, oh my gosh, they nailed that. That was amazing. And when they went on to Captain America Civil War, wonderful, epic film. They even did a great job with Infinity War, even though it's an incomplete story, which it was supposed to be. That's fine. But yeah, the Russo brothers are another enigma, like Feige himself. Don't know what happened. What happened? Were these guys always wanting to do this nonsense and finally got off their leash and able to do it? Or were they forced to do it, you know, by the new powers that be? Who knows? But yeah, Favreau was an amazing storyteller, and he should have. I really wish he never would have left the MCU completely. It'd be awesome to see what he could have done with an Avengers movie. So I love Joss Whedon. I love Avengers Age of Ultron. I don't think that movie deserves the crap it gets sometimes. I think it was a great movie, wonderful film. So many times with the MCU movies, and this is something that I'll probably close out with this in a few minutes here, but people seem to not realize that any installment of the MCU has to be judged as a part of a bigger story. This is what a lot of people who want to try and justify still watching MCU nonsense now say. Well, I mean, I'm just looking for a good story. I mean, I know Endgame and I know the whole continuity is messed up, but you know, if they can just tell me a good story about Scarlet Witch or Black Widow, I'll go watch it. Well, then you're deluding yourself. You're part of the problem, and you're deluding yourself because by the MCU's existence, it insists that you can accept it as part of a greater story arc. That's the nature of that genre. That's the nature of the medium that it is. You might be tired of shared cinematic universes. Good for you, but this is still one, and it deserves to be judged on those grounds. So a Black Widow movie is already dead in the water. It's a lame duck movie because it's with a character they're already so ashamed of they had to kill her off. Now they're still so ashamed of her memory that they have to go back and tell a story of her in the past that kind of makes her not anything that you've loved her as up to this point. It's ridiculous. No, that's not who the character is. It's never what she was meant to be. I think if I go any farther with that, I think I'm going to end up talking about MCU's problems in general, which could easily keep me here for another hour, if not more, as you guys know. So I think I'm going to actually, if I think of anything else for Black Widow here, I'll say it in a minute, but I think I'm going to wrap up the problems with her. I talked about what an amazing character she is, why she should still remain, how they've irrevocably ruined her character, even in the comics. Even in the comics, the woke ideologues have tried to change her. They had Captain America Nazi Hydra Cap. They had him actually kill Black Widow. And the same thing they did when they restored Cap, which isn't even the real Cap. As far as the Marvel comics are concerned, he was always a Nazi. This new Cap is just some new imagining of how he should be, or we wanted him to be, or whatever. It's just ridiculous. And the Black Widow is just a clone. So the Black Widow you've known and loved from Marvel Comics, she's not even there anymore. I mean, they constantly screw the pooch on this all the time. They don't know what they're doing. They're ashamed of these certain characters. How dare him wear a flag and stand for America? How dare her use her sexuality? So comics, movies, anything, they hate these characters, and they're going to constantly try to change them or muck them up and mire them up. I mean, doing the Hydra Cap. That was Nick Spencer showing the true colors of the woke ideologues at their best. And they've never redeemed that. You know, they kept saying, just keep reading. I know you're upset, but just keep reading. It'll make sense. It never made sense. It never made sense. There was never any justification for making that horrible, horrible decision. And the fact that Nick Spencer still gets work or that Tom Brevoort still gets work is proof that the industry is dead. It's to the point now. I mean, I say all the time, if you keep watching, if you keep paying for these MCU series or films or whatever, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem if you're still going out and buying Marvel or DC Comics for that matter. These are not industries that should still be fed. If you want great comic books, I was thinking about this today. I want to do a video on this soon. If you love the comic books we had from the yesterday age, you know, the older age, and you're unhappy with the comic books today, and you're not checking out what Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan and a lot of these old, Ethan Van Sciver, of course, but a lot of these old comic not old as in chronologically old, but comic creators that gave us the wonderful content from the older ages that we knew and loved are still doing stuff, but they're not doing it through these horrible big two publishers that are just constantly pushing agenda. They're making amazing stuff. Graham Nolan, I'm always seeing stuff from him. Chuck Dixon, he's got his own channel now and everything. They're constantly pushing out new content. And check it out. If you're not checking that out, what are you doing? How dare you go and buy a new Marvel or DC comic book if you claim that this stuff is bothering you and you haven't even gone to check out these other wonderful creators that are still out there? R.T. Bear, he's got campaigns going all the time. It's wonderful. I mean, the man's just, these are the things we need to be supporting, not this new, did you see Black Widow? No, and you shouldn't have either. Ed Starr, you are my hero, buddy. For $100. Thank you. Says thank you for all your excellent commentary posted regularly throughout the week. I really appreciate that. I really do. And let me assure you that even though these last few days I had a little hiccups in my schedule and didn't have a few things posted, that's not the new. I'm still on my regular posting. So I wanted to get this live stream in so that I have some content to post, and I've got more content, more heroic inspirations videos on the way and everything like that. But thank you for your support, sir. I really appreciate that. That it helps a lot. It really does, especially right now. So I appreciate that. I know not everybody can give super chats like that. Not everybody can super chat at all. Totally. I just appreciate everybody being here, but you are very much appreciated, Ed Starr. Thank you. You're the man. Yeah. And Tom Bowling's talking about manga and anime. I think just some guy has done a video about anime or manga, how that's selling and everything. Hey, if that's your thing, that's great. Like I said before, I do like some anime. I just the aesthetic isn't really for me. It's just a personal taste, I know that my weebs in the chat are going, what? But the aesthetic doesn't. Even the anime that I like, like Cowboy Bebop or My Hero Academia or these things, Chronicles of Arslan. I enjoy the stories, but I just kind of have to get past the aesthetic because I really don't like the look of it. That's just me, though. It's just a taste thing. There's nothing objectively wrong with it. It's just a taste thing. But yeah, that's a place to go for great content. There's great content out there. I think I will do, because as I'm getting into it and as I've been talking about the Black Widow and all the problems with her, I think I will come back and do another stream maybe it'll be this week's Friday stream, or maybe just like another stream Tuesday night after the Lord of the Rings study over on Catholic Bible Geek channel. Maybe, I don't know. Well, but I think I could definitely do another stream just talking about more of the problems with the MCU, because that's something that I feel like every now and then I feel like, okay, we've talked enough about that. Surely people understand that, but every time I do, it's such a sensitive, open wound that people want to hear more about it. They're tired of this and they want to hear more about it. And a lot of people need to hear about it still, who are still out there thinking that, what's wrong with the MCU? I kind of like what they did with the Loki series. Oh my gosh. There's so much wrong with it. Where have you been? Why aren't your eyes open? So we'll do some more streams like this and talk about it some more. I see you guys have been very active in the chat, and I'm sure you guys have made a lot of great points that weren't super chats I didn't get to read. But again, because of time constraints, I wanted to make sure I had my spiel out there so I could have this as something that could be cut up later. But I promise to come back this week for a more leisurely live stream in which I can take into some of your ideas into account, and we can have a back and forth about it. So we'll do that. So it's Sunday night now. Tomorrow night, maybe it's possible I might even come back tomorrow night for that stream. But that's just sort of going to be an extra, a bonus. I have some work that's due tomorrow night, schoolwork and everything like that. But Tuesday night, Lord of the Rings Bible studies continuing, Fellowship of the Ring over on Catholic Bible Geek. Thursday night, Big Al and I will be back here to complete the Path of Destruction book study, the Darth Bane trilogy, before we move on to the next book in that trilogy. And then Friday night, I'll be back for another live stream. Daily videos will continue, as usual. And I have another super chat. Thank you very much from Miguel Espinoza, CLP. I'm not sure what that currency is, but 2,500 CLP. Thank you very much for that, whatever that amounts to. Hello, Prof. I wanted to know what you think would be signal of the return of good storytelling. What would make you read comics again? Honestly, what would be a good signal for me? First of all, at least 10 years would have had to pass. At least 10 years. That's very conservative. That's ludicrously conservative. Honestly, 15 to 20 years would have to pass. The publishing and the Hollywood industries are so cancerous right now with this woke ideologue thinking. It's the tendrils are dug in so deep into the companies that there's no, just fire this guy and hire this guy. And okay, now we got good stories again. We are so beyond that. No, it needs to be a year's worth of surgical procedures in the industry before you finally cut out, all of the nonsense people who are in their jobs and are trying to push this. It's a conspiracy. And again, I say conspiracy, I don't mean like there's an actual Hydra agency that's all interwoven or connected, but no, they have been programmed in the education system to think this way and to penetrate our entertainment system as well as our government and push these nonsense ideologies. So it is this massive move. It's this massive move to keep this going. So I wouldn't even begin to look at any symbols for at least 10 years. And then they'd have to be pretty overwhelming. I'd have to see sweeping changes. I'd have to see a lot of people who gave us wonderful stories brought back in, people that were currently are previously canceled. I'd have to see the culture change to want to read mainstream comics and watch mainstream films again. Yeah. So my sound engraver for $2. Take your time, Prof. Just chilling. Appreciate that. Matthew Flynn for £5 says, hello, Prof. Have some money. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Matthew Flynn. And, I'm going to get around to talking about Transformers at some point. Like I never watched that growing up, but it's, I've got it. And I love He-Man, Thundercats, G.I. Joe. So I'm going to give that show a chance. Cars and machines and, ships and everything that never appealed to me. That was like oh yeah, it's cool and all, but give me a good, story, characters or whatever. So the look of it, the aesthetic of that never appealed to me as a child, but I know what a great hero story it is. So I'm going to watch that as an adult and probably talk about that more soon enough. I know some people will like that. So, yeah, look for the daily videos coming up. Look for some streams. This other bonus stream on the MCU, maybe tomorrow night if I get my work done, but at least some point this week. But the Friday night stream will be back, fingers crossed as usual, because I think things are okay with my daughter now. Thursday night, Tuesday night book study streams, all of that. Sound Engraver's dropping some Masters of the Universe videos on her channel this week. She's been, she's my fellow soldier in this Masters of the Universe nonsense that they're doing today, and calling out the greatness that we had. She's got a lot of great content on her channel. I recommend you check that out, and she's going to drop more of that. So I'll probably put out some more content. For me, Filmation is it. That is He-Man. There's no better than that ever. Not even the 2002 series, but I do like the 2002 series. So I might do some more content specifically talking about that as well for people that are like, that was their, that was their thing. So yeah, Big Al Presents, looking forward to book studies. Yep, they're coming back. They're coming back this week with Big Al as my co-pilot there. So awesome. Good to see you there, Al. And Private Eye says, hey, bruv, sorry I can't give money, but just wanted to say, since I live in a third world country, we never really had comics, but now they're reprinting so many classics. Oh, interesting. That's cool. Well, no, you don't have to super chat. I mean, I really appreciate the super chats, but no, anybody who just contributes to the chat is very much appreciated. But you have a completely new industry here. That's awesome that they're reprinting classics. That might be the first thing to do. Don't put out new stuff because they don't trust you with new stuff. There are a couple new comics, like the I'm interested in the new Superman 78 comic. And occasionally they'll do something like Superman Man of Tomorrow by Vendetti or something like that that's outside of their continuity. Those things that are not part of the nonsense they're pushing. But even those I accept with a great of salt at first before I'll say anything good about them. So yeah, print the classics, stop it with the continuities that no one cares about anymore. And so thank you guys for hanging out tonight. Very much appreciated. This was an impromptu stream, but I'm glad I got a chance to do it. And I will be back with a lot more this week, consistently putting out the truth. But thank you guys for being there to watch it and support it. Very much appreciated. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories, the good, the true, the real, the iconic hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.